Chapter 7. Within the main hall of the southern palace. How dare he! Ye Fengtian, who already knew that he was under complete house arrest, growled with a face as black as the bottom of a pot. It was even darker than Judge Bao's face. Why wouldn't he dare? Even if he overturns the heavens, the emperor won't do anything to him. Even the law enforcement officers will simply turn a blind eye to it, Su Qin replied. Compared to this, what's wrong with you, Lear? Are you short-sighted or brainless? You couldn't say those words to us in private. Instead, you had to say it in front of the crown prince. Su Qin even pointed the spearhead at Ye Qianli. Hearing that, Ye Fengtian also looked at Ye Qianli with a dark face, his eyes filled with obvious dissatisfaction. Lear, what you said and did today is seriously absurd. At this moment, Ye Qianli had yet to freshen up. Due to the sudden arrest, she was dragged in front of her parents to be interrogated. While her parents looked on at her with all the dirt and traces of blood on her body, they did not feel anything was inappropriate at all. Just now, it was fine because the situation didn't allow her to leave. After all, the crown prince had not allowed her to leave. What about now? She still wasn't allowed to leave so that she could wash up or treat her injuries. Neither did she receive any concern nor consolation. Uncle, aunt, don't blame elder sister. She's already feeling bad enough. It's understandable that she would do something that isn't proper. At this moment, Su Lianhua, who was also present, immediately defended Ye Qianli timidly. When Su Qin saw this, she glared at Ye Qianli bitterly indeed. Look, Hua is still the sensible one. You resent her so much, and yet she's still so considerate towards you. If you're an ounce as good as Hua I wouldn't have to worry so much. Yes, it had always been like this. Every time they did something, it was Su Lianhua who was obedient while Ye Qianli was that ignorant fool who made her seem better. Enough. Leah is a little insensible, but Hua really did do wrong this time. Where's Granny Nan? Did you find out where that poison tea came from? How did it get sent into Lear's mouth? Ye Fengtian said. When Su Lianhua heard this, her face clearly turned pale. However, Su Qin quickly pulled her into her embrace to comfort her. Su Qin even looked at Ye Fengtian in askance and said, Why? Could it be that you're like Lear, thinking that Hua was the one who did it? Ye Fengtian didn't say anything. In reality, he did carry a trace of agreement. After all, logically speaking, it was impossible for a bad person to enter the southern palace where he was at. Therefore, the person could only be a traitor. Ye Fengtian, what do you mean? Su Qin's expression changed when she saw that he stayed silent. Father's opinion is very simple. Younger sister Hua is also a suspect because no outsider can enter the Clear Wind Palace and commit crimes under father's divine sense. That means that anyone who has served me or touched this cup of tea is a suspect, especially younger sister Hua. And that's because I didn't want to drink tea at that time. She kept persuading me to drink it. All the servants present at the scene can testify. I just want to ask younger cousin Hua, why? Also, not only wasn't she satisfied with making me drink poison, but she even made me consume the Tianyu Night Queen flower. Then she abandoned me, who had been poisoned, and ran away. Why? Ye Qianli continued. The questions she asked were like sharp needles piercing into Su Lianhua's heart. However, it was not over yet. Ye Qianli suddenly stared at Su Lianhua and questioned her word by word. Is there poison in this tea? Was it actually you, or— Shut up, Su Qin interrupted her protectively. However, she was not protecting her biological daughter, Ye Qianli, but Su Lianhua. This was simply incomprehensible to anyone else. However, such a situation had always been happening in the Ye family. As such, Ye Fengtian was very used to it and did not feel that there was anything wrong. He only frowned slightly because of Ye Qianli's questioning, as if he was thinking deeply. Why should I shut up? Mother, did I ask the wrong questions? Father, have you never thought about who would benefit the most if something happened to my goddess body? My engagement with the crown prince would be cancelled. Then, other than younger cousin Hua, who else would get to marry the crown prince in this dynasty? Pah! Ye Qianli was asking questions one after another when a slap suddenly whipped down from in front of her. It was a very heavy and ruthless slap, and this slap was from Su Qin. She had used her profound energy in her slap. The slap was about to land on Ye Qianli's face. In the midst of the chaos, no one could see what was going on, but when the slap landed, the person who received it became Su Lianhua.
Su Lianhua, who was caught off guard, not only spat out a mouthful of blood, but she also fell to the ground, seeing stars. Her beautiful face was also swollen. Compared to that mock slap from before, this was a real slap. The previous slap in the main hall only made Su Lianhua's face turn red. Right now, though, it was truly swollen, and 2 of her teeth fell out. Mother, this is the last time I will call you mother. Su Lianhua, she is your real daughter. I was picked up from the streets, right? Ye Qianli glanced at the stunned Su Lianhua and spoke calmly to Su Jin. At this point, in her heart, this Su Jin was just Su Jin. She was not a mother and had nothing to do with the owner of this body. Su Jin was originally a little confused too. She could not understand why her slap that was aimed at her daughter, Ye Qianli, landed on her niece instead. However, even though she was stunned when she met Ye Qianli's cold and indifferent eyes, an indescribable fire rose in her heart. As a result, her beautiful face became a little distorted as she glared at the evil daughter in front of her and shouted, "Kneel! You're not worthy." Of course, Ye Qianli would not kneel. She even turned around and walked out of the house after saying those 3 words. She did not even look at her mother or her father. Su Jin was furious. "Lear, stop right there." Ye Fangtian was also angered. "Father, now is not the time to interrogate me. Ye Qianli, you should think about how to deal with the crown prince. He seems to have been angered by something else and intends to use our Ye family as a punching bag." Ye Qianli replied indifferently. She did not slow down at all as she walked out. Ye Fengtian was stunned. While he was still in a daze, Ye Qianli had already opened the door.
However, at this moment she felt a strong gust of wind from behind sweep towards her back. This force undoubtedly came from Su Qin. She had already stood up. "You evil girl, I don't believe that I won't be able to teach you manners today. Dr. Zhang has just arrived." At the same time, Yan Nanfei happened to bring Dr. Zhang into the southern palace. As soon as he lifted his head, he saw the disheveled Ye Qianli rushing towards him. "Eunuch Yan, my mother is going to beat me to death. Save me." Pfft! Ye Qianli ran in front of Yan Nanfei and spat out a mouthful of blood. Yan Nanfei was so shocked that he instinctively held on to her. Then, Yan Nanfei saw this noble daughter of the Ye clan, who was despised by the crown prince, roll her eyes indecently and faint. "Princess Consort Ye is so impressive. You actually dare to shout and kill the future crown princess consort." Before Ye Qianli rolled her eyes and pretended to pass out, she heard Yan Nanfei's sharp eunuch voice reprimand Su Qin very sternly. At the same time, Ye Qianli's wrist was grabbed by someone. A strange power instantly spread through her limbs and bones, making her feel like she had nowhere to hide. This was bad. Chapter 8. At this moment, Ye Qianli had a very strong intuition that her body would not be able to hide anything under this thread of power. No wonder that guy left so quickly. He was waiting for her here. This so-called Dr. Zhang had an ability that she couldn't understand. Hence, the fact that she had actually relied on a man to cure her poison would probably be detected immediately. This kind of knowledge made Ye Qianli feel a sense of powerlessness, like the idiom "the way of the heaven is fair, but the guilty will not escape." Hiss! However, right at this moment, when Ye Qianli was already at her wit's end, she suddenly felt a sharp pain in her right eye. Then, there was no then. Because under this piercing pain, she actually fainted completely and lost consciousness. 2 hours later, in the Western Palace. After hearing Dr. Zhang, Yan Nanfei, and Qian Yi's report, Rong Mo fell silent. His silence caused the 3 people who had finished reporting to feel extremely nervous, especially Yan Nanfei, who was adept at figuring out his master's thoughts. He was certain that the crown prince was extremely unhappy. However, this was also very understandable. No matter how much the crown prince didn't like that young lady, she was still the cut-and-dried chosen crown princess consort. Being bullied like this really made people too angry. What was worse was that, even though all the evidence pointed to that vicious Su clan's daughter, Princess Consort Ye actually protected her niece and killed all the servants in Clearwind Palace. That's great. The crown prince was handling this matter, and someone actually dared to play a cheap trick. Yan Nanfei felt that this Princess Consort Ye was really a retard. Yan Nanfei, send Elder Jiang back to the Imperial Hospital. Fortunately, the silence did not last long before Rongmo spoke. As if he was granted amnesty, Yan Nanfei immediately felt relieved and quickly pulled Dr. Jiang away. As for Tianyi, who had allowed someone else to kill the servants in Clearwind Palace when it was under his watch, Yan Nanfei expressed that he couldn't help even if he wanted to. This punishment was inevitable. Tianyi himself knew this as well. Hence, after he reported the matter, he had been kneeling and waiting for his punishment. He did not have any quibble, even though he could not understand why a mother would let her own daughter suffer so much injustice just to protect a niece. That poor biological daughter was still unconscious and did not know anything. She probably would not know the truth even after she woke up. Unless, from now on, you will be stripped of your role as commander of the Celestial Cavalry. Go to the southern barracks. If you do not achieve 100,000 battle merits, you will not return. Rongmo said softly as he looked out of the window calmly. Upon hearing that, Tianyi's expression changed several times. That was because in the southern barracks, even he might not be able to return from there at any time, let alone build 100,000 battle merits. Thank you, Your Highness. However, Tianyi did not have a single word of complaint. As the commander of the Celestial Cavalry, he had indeed committed an unforgivable mistake today. If it was a matter of the state, his negligence would not be enough to salvage the situation, even if he died 100 times. It was already his greatest blessing that His Highness, the Crown Prince, did not execute him. After Tianyi removed his armor and left, Rongmo was the only one left in the hall. He sat with his back facing the light, and the morning sun was about to shine into the place. It was so warm and gentle, but it could not disperse the coldness that lingered around him. It was an icy cold that seemed like it would not melt even after 10,000 years. After a moment, he suddenly stood up. He looked up at the southern palace, where Ye Qianli was, and then disappeared without a trace. No one knew where he went. Ye Qianli, who was unconscious in the southern palace, had no idea that it was already 2 days later when she woke up. At the moment Ye Qianli woke up, she reached out to cover her left eye and used her right eye to look at the interesting and appealing ceiling in front of her. After confirming that her right eye was not blind, she heaved a sigh of relief. However, what happened? Ye Qianli covered her left eye and then her right eye. After observation, she realized that her right eye was clearly seeing clearer than her left eye. Could it be that her right eye was not going blind, but the left was? That was not it. The clear-headed Ye Qianli was certain that the visual range of her right eye was much further than her left eye, as well as the clarity of her sight. It was especially obvious when she focused on using her right eye to look around. Now that she was thinking about it, before she fainted, it seemed that it was the strange power that the doctor had dispersed into her body, which had affected her right eye, causing her right eye to suddenly burst out with a strange power, and then hurt afterward. Ye Qianli silently rubbed her right eye. She wanted to find out what was going on, but it was her first time encountering such a situation too. Even after searching through the original owner's memories, she still did not understand what was going on. However, she was certain that the original body did not experience an occasion where the right eye could see clearer and further than the left eye. Still, during this process she clearly understood that her goddess body was truly crippled, because she simply couldn't gather profound energy. Neither could she sense where her so-called elixir field was. Given her condition, her meridian should be completely destroyed, right? However, the silver lining was that she was not paralyzed. The price of sleeping with a handsome man is really quite high. Ye Qianli, who was lying on the bed, sighed in her heart. At that time, she had no other way of curing the poison. As for that thing about her grandfather giving her a medicinal pill that could cure all poisons, of course it was to deceive that crown prince, but wait. How could she still be lying in her own room in Clearwind Palace? Could it be? The power bursting from my right eye prevented the doctor from investigating the truth. Ye Qianli rubbed her temples. She felt that there was too much information about this matter. Guards. As she could not confirm the situation on the crown prince's side, Ye Qianli wanted to find someone to ask, but the only response she received was silence. No one was acknowledging her? Ye Qianli frowned slightly and got off the bed. She walked towards the entrance and opened the door. As expected, she saw 2 old maids guarding outside her room. There was indeed someone there? 2 grannies? Where's Xiao Kui and the rest? Ye Qianli asked calmly. The 2 old maids did not even look at her, let alone answer her question. Ye Qianli waved her hand in front of the 2 of them, but there was no reaction from them. She felt that they were deaf and blind. However, when she was about to walk outside, she was stopped. "Miss, you can't go out," one of the old maids said stiffly. "Father's orders?" Ye Qianli asked calmly. Her calmness caused the granny, who had spoken, to glance at Ye Qianli from the corner of her eyes. Ye Qianli caught a hint of pity and contempt in the old maid's eyes. "Prince Ye and Princess Consort Ye have instructed that young lady has lost her mind and needs to recuperate in Clearwind Palace," the old grandma said coldly, as though she was stating a fact. Ye Qianli raised her brows slightly and asked, "How long do I have to recuperate quietly for? For the rest of my life?" "I'm afraid so," another old grandma suddenly mocked her. "As a useless person and someone who was despised by the crown prince, how can you still have the face to walk out? If I were you, I might as well end it by hanging myself so that I don't embarrass myself, and especially the Yi family's face. The prince and the princess consort have all been embarrassed by you." Chapter 9. Even though she no longer had any cultivation, Ye Qianli, who had a strong insight into the aura of the human body, could still determine from the ordinary aura emitted by these 2 old grannies. These 2 old grannies could not cultivate. However, these 2 old slaves, who did not have much status in the crown prince's residence, were not only sent here to guard Ye Qianli, but also dared to insult her with words. Or disdain. Pity her. What did this mean? It was very clear to Ye Qianli. However, she was not angry. She still looked calmly at the old granny who mocked her. She watched how the latter humiliated her and told her to hang herself. "What? Am I wrong?" The old granny was inexplicably flustered by how Ye Qianli stared at her, and couldn't help but exclaim in a loud voice. "Do my father and my mother agree with these words you said?" Ye Qianli asked in reply. "That," the old granny wanted to say, of course. She already heard the princess consort's blatant words of scorn, but before she could finish speaking, she was pulled by her companion. "Miss, the 2 of us are only following orders. Please cooperate and return to the room." The other granny, who had stopped her companion, explained stiffly to Ye Qianli. Hearing this, Ye Qianli did not say anything else. Neither did she look at these 2 old slaves. She only glanced into the distance out of the hall. Then, without needing the 2 old slaves to say anything, she calmly turned around and returned to her room. "Why did you stop me just now? Didn't you see the look in her eyes? Does she still think that she's the honorable eldest daughter of the family? How dare she look down on me?" "Lower your voice. It's true that eldest young lady was abandoned by the prince and princess consort, but she is still our master after all. You and I should still behave ourselves. Don't. After Ye Qianli closed the door, she could still clearly hear the discussion between the two old slaves. However, they quickly fell silent, presumably continuing to act blind, dumb, and deaf. However, Ye Qianli did not mind. She already had her own plan. Although she seemed to be looking around casually just now, she was actually trying to confirm that the distance she could see with her right eye was really extraordinarily far. Ye Qianli took a deep breath and focused her attention on her right eye. This time, even the dust at the furthest end of the hole appeared so clear in her eyes. Buzz. At the same time, she felt a sharp pain in her right eye again. A strange power slowly dissipated from her right eye. She felt her head swelling and buzzing as though she felt dizzy again. However, this time, Ye Qianli, who was already prepared, did not allow herself to faint. She used a hairpin to stab at a hidden acupuncture point on her head. At the next moment, her vision blurred, or did she faint? Ye Qianli stared blankly at the grey patch in front of her. Then she pinched herself to make sure that she did not faint. However, she could not understand why she was seeing all these now. Let's take a look first. Although she did not know what was going on, Ye Qianli still carried the mindset that since she was already here, she should take things as they came. However, she quickly realized that other than the dust storm, there was nothing else. Under her feet was the fine sand of the dust storm, and surrounding her was the air of the dust storm. Other than that, there was nothing. However, just as Ye Qianli finished her conclusion, she saw a box-like object lying on the fine sand of the dust storm about 10 meters ahead. Ye Qianli walked closer and bent down to pick it up. She found that it was indeed a box. There were even decorative carvings on the surface of the box, although the patterns looked completely different from the exquisite ones. It looked like the work of a kindergarten child. The box was only the size of her fist. After the fine dust was wiped away, it appeared dark black red. Every side of it was filled with childish carvings. It was impossible to tell what exactly was carved either. As she could not figure out the reason, Ye Qianli planned to put it away first and study it later. However, she heard a wailing sound as her fingertip was bitten by the box. Ye Qianli was stunned to see that this ordinary-looking box suddenly bit her index finger. The bite mark was in the shape of a steamed bun, and it even bit hard enough to the point of bleeding. It hurt. The box was even drinking her blood. What the H*L? In the face of this situation, Ye Qianli instinctively flung the box with all her might, hoping to shake off this strange box. However, of course, she could not shake it off anymore. It was just that primordial magic box, acknowledging master. However, there were 5 clear and big words that suddenly appeared in Ye Qianli's mind. Following that, there were 9 small words. Primordial magic box. I will fulfill all your requests. Ye Qianli was really a little stunned by the sudden appearance of these words. However, she still instinctively tried to pry open the strange box on her finger. This unknown object continued to suck on it. No matter what logical deduction she made, this couldn't be a good thing, right? However, no matter what she did, the other party still drank her blood without fail. She couldn't get rid of it at all. This thing was more like leech than a real leech. She couldn't pry it off. Since that's the case, seeing that this thing could not stop sucking blood, Ye Qianli's eyes darkened. She was about to snap off her own finger. However, the magic box let out a burping sound before letting go of her finger and slipping back into her pocket on its own. Ye Qianli was at a loss for words, especially when she flicked her sleeves in an attempt to throw this D*MN thing out. Another line appeared in her mind. Idiot, don't disturb my sleep. So this box was communicating with her? And she was even being looked down upon as a fool? What exactly are you? Why did you suck my blood? Will you suck it again in the future? Ye Qianli had no choice but to take a step back to communicate with it, since she couldn't get rid of this D***men thing. The magic box did not respond. Only when Ye Qianli started thinking that this thing would not respond did two words float into her mind. I won't. All right, what else could Ye Qianli say? She could only stand up silently. Hopefully, this D***men thing would not suck blood again in the future. However, what do you mean by fulfilling all my requests? Also, if I'm your master now, do you have to do as I say? Ye Qianli asked again. However, there was no response from the magic box at all this time. Then how am I going to get out of this place? Where is this place? Ye Qianli was going crazy. What kind of situation had she encountered? Buzz. However, as soon as her voice fell, she felt her vision blur once again. Then she came to and had already returned to Clearwind Palace. Ye Qianli flipped through her sleeves and realized that the fist-sized demonic box was still there. In other words, everything that she had seen and heard just now was true. I will fulfill all your requests. As long as you ask for help, I will help you. A line of words appeared in Ye Qianli's mind again. So when I wanted to come out just now, you let me out? Yes. Then what was that place just now? Ancient battlefield. After Ye Qianli inquired about it carefully, she finally understood that the world she saw just now really existed. Not only that. Chapter 10. There are quite a few treasures scattered throughout the ancient battlefield. Not only are there divine artifacts, ruined pills, and skeletal remains, there might even be creatures from the ancient continent. The magic box relayed the information in both written and oral forms. Upon hearing this, Ye Qianli immediately focused her attention and prepared to enter the so-called ancient battlefield again. According to the magic box, the strange power in her right eye was the key to opening the ancient battlefield passageway. Unfortunately, she couldn't enter anymore. You still didn't believe me when I said that you're a fool. With your current spiritual power, you can only enter the ancient battlefield once a day, the magic box said with disdain. Ye Qianli's face darkened as she said coldly, Since I can only enter once, then why did you let me out just now? You're the one who wanted to come out, the magic box stated. Ye Qianli flung her sleeves. That was because I didn't know that there was something good inside, so I wanted to come out. But you were aware. Why didn't you remind me? Because I'm afraid that I can't explain it to you clearly, so I might as well use reality to explain what it means to fulfill your requests when you want something. The magic box continued to write fluently. Ye Qianli. This magic box is a trap. It must be. I want to go in now, but you can't do it. That's why your request fulfillment isn't all that great either, Ye Qianli said exasperatedly. You're useless. Even if I want to help, you need to have the capability for me to do so. Look, it was indeed a trap. She almost thought she had picked up a magical Aladdin lamp. Then what can you help me with? For example, my meridians should be completely crippled right now, and I've become a useless person who can't cultivate. Can you help me to treat it? Ye Qianli asked again helplessly, although she did not hold much hope in her heart. When did your meridians become crippled completely? The magic box asked. Ye Qianli was stunned. My cultivation is all gone. Aren't my meridians completely crippled? Of course not. If you were a useless person, why would I acknowledge you as my master? I'm not stupid either. The magic box once again let out a disdainful sound. Then why don't I have any profound energy, and why can't I sense my elixir field? Ye Qianli was full of questions. She didn't lose her memory either. She had tried to activate her profound energy using the tricks that the original owner had learned. In the end, it still didn't work. There was no reaction from her elixir field at all. You're still cultivating profound energy? The magic box seemed to become even more disdainful now. Of course, what do you mean? Tell me clearly. Ye Qianli felt that she might have a communication barrier with the magic box. The magic box seemed to have realized that there was a huge communication barrier between it and its new master, too. It pondered for a while before slowly sending another message. I don't know why you would say that your meridians are completely crippled, because I can see that your meridians are circulating perfectly. However, you're already so old, and yet you haven't cultivated before. It's truly unbelievable. As far as I know, the profound energy cultivation that you speak of is an element that only the lowest level martial artist would cultivate. Why would someone with perfect talent like you want to cultivate profound energy? Has your brain really not been kicked by a donkey before? Ye Qianli. She was stunned again. However, this time she was not entirely clueless. In her memory, she recalled the explanation of another type of cultivator, a person with innate talent. It was said that an innately talented cultivator, a true genius, could awaken innate divine ability, which carried its own cultivation methods. Thus, they would have unimaginable strength. It was said that an innately talented cultivator, with the lowest level of talent, already possessed the combat ability of a mystic king, at the very least. However, in Ye Qianli's memory, there did not seem to be any innately talented cultivator in the Vermilion Bird dynasty. However, her Ye family had produced such a talent before, and that was her only uncle, Ye Batian. It was just that he died in the battle along the borders of the Northern Territory in his prime. No. Perhaps that current crown prince is also an innately talented cultivator. Ye Qianli suddenly thought of that stunningly handsome man and pondered over it instinctively. Are you really a fool? Without waiting for Ye Qianli's reaction, the magic box could not help but send out another message. Ye Qianli rolled her eyes exasperatedly before saying, I don't know how to use my perfect talent to cultivate now. Do you know the method? The magic box. Now it was its turn to be dumbfounded. It had never thought that the truth was actually this. However, this seemed to make sense too. Otherwise, why hadn't she cultivated until now? Yet. I do know of some methods, but none of them are suitable for you. With your aptitude, it is best for you to enter the ancient battlefield and communicate with the divine memory through meditation to carry out the awakening of your innate divine ability. The magic box explained with written words. What is divine memory? Ye Qianli turned into a barrel of questions. Since she was completely clueless, she asked the magic box everything she didn't know. By the time she understood anything, it was already noon. Clang! The door to her room in the Clearwind Palace was suddenly opened, and a food box was thrown in. As a result, the food inside was spilled all over the floor. It seemed like she was suffering from someone's retaliation. However, Ye Qianli was not angry. That old maid with a vulgar mouth was still looking through the crack in the door. Under her shocked gaze, Ye Qianli picked up the dirty food on the ground and slowly ate them. As a doctor, Ye Qianli had been to war zones and all kinds of disaster zones. She had experienced all kinds of hardships. Even if the food was rotten or had worms in it, she simply heated the food up to kill the bacteria and would still eat them normally. After lunch, Ye Qianli lay down on the bed and continued to sleep. She was preparing to conserve her energy. When midnight arrived tonight, she would head to the ancient battlefield. However, while she was taking an afternoon nap, Su Lianhua was swallowing a special pill that originally belonged to Ye Qianli, the innate talent pill, in the Clearwind Palace. Moreover, the person watching Su Lianhua swallow this pill was Su Qin. Hua you must work hard and strive to awaken your innate divine ability. Otherwise, I'm afraid that the price I will have to pay for giving this pill to you is to be divorced by my husband. Su Qin looked at Su Lianhua, who had swallowed the innate talent pill, and said with a solemn expression, Aunt, don't worry. Hua will definitely not disappoint you. In the future, I will be more filial to you than my older cousin. I will let you enjoy the honor and glory of being the mother of the crown princess consort, and the mother of the empress. Su Lianhua promised. All right, good child. Quickly close your eyes and regulate your breathing. Follow the method that I gave you and awaken the innate divine ability that belongs to you, Su Qin instructed with slightly warm eyes. Su Lianhua nodded and closed her eyes to regulate her breathing before slowly entering her cultivation state. 12 hours later, Su Lianhua did not seem to have changed much, but Su Qin, who was guarding her, was already sweating profusely from panic. That was because she clearly knew that according to the method she gave Su Lianhua, the latter should be able to awaken her innate divine ability within 12 hours and become a glorious talented cultivator. However, if Su Lianhua did not awaken it within 12 hours, that would mean she had failed. It meant that Su Lianhua really did not possess the physique of a talented cultivator and could not become a true genius. Your Royal Highness. At this moment, Ye Fengtian's return was heard from outside the house. Moreover, the innate talent pill that Su Qin had given Su Lianhua was the Ye clan's most valuable treasure. Buzz, buzz, buzz. However, just as Su Qin's face turned pale from anxiety, strange soft white ripples appeared around Su Lianhua's body. Strands of mysterious aura rushed out from her body. Closely following that, boom! A white light shot out towards the sky from within Su Lianhua's body. Buzz! At the same time, in Clearwind Palace where Ye Qianli was, there was an even more mysterious aura that was quietly heading towards the Dome of Heaven. Chapter 11. It turned out that, at the same time in Clearwind Palace, Ye Qianli had entered the ancient battlefield again, almost as soon as midnight arrived. She followed the instructions of the magic box and slowly emptied herself, carefully experiencing this dusky world. This fool doesn't even know how to move forward a little more. The closer you get to the center of the ancient battlefield, the easier it is to communicate with the divine memories. She really doesn't have any common sense at all. The magic box was truly speechless inwardly. However, this cheap master's way of meditating is very strange. Furthermore, she is able to enter her state very quickly. This was the reason why the magic box did not wake Ye Qianli up after discovering her silly behavior. At this moment, the magic box thought that Ye Qianli's current state might be a rare opportunity. If she was woken up by it and could not re-enter her state so quickly, it would be a waste even if she were to get closer to the center of the ancient battlefield. The truth quickly proved that its actions were completely correct. This was because Ye Qianli, who had entered a meditative state, only used about 15 minutes to resonate with a certain memory of a god in the ancient battlefield. Buzz. Buzz. The magic box looked on in shock. Strands of strange fiery light constantly surged towards Ye Qianli, coiling around her as more kept gathering. As it gradually twined around Ye Qianli, it emitted feelings of delight and admiration. This caused the magic box's shock to increase even more. One had to know that the divine memories were fragments of memories of deities who had died in the ancient battlefield and had never dissipated. They were the most perfect memories for those who could communicate with them. They were the most powerful cultivation treasures. After all, every god's cultivation system was a cultivation textbook. Hence, the magic box suggested that Ye Qianli come here to cultivate, so that she could receive the most suitable guidance for herself from the divine memories. Now, not only had Ye Qianli attracted a fragment of divine memory in less than 15 minutes, but she also made this divine memory emit a sense of admiration. This meant that this deity's remnant will was very satisfied with Ye Qianli's talent and comprehension ability. After all, the gods that had died here were extremely arrogant. How many geniuses weren't even worthy of being looked down upon by them? And yet, now. What kind of master did I acknowledge? She seems to be a foolish abnormality. In its heart, the magic box silently labeled Ye Qianli with 2 tags, a fool and a perverted genius. Sha, sha, sha. While Ye Qianli and the divine memory were interacting and creating an increasingly huge commotion, the magic box heard a subtle commotion approaching rapidly from afar. Crap! The magic box was alarmed. Thinking of some of the ancient creatures that existed in this ancient battlefield, it immediately slipped back into Ye Qianli's sleeve pocket and began to monitor its surroundings with all its attention. Very soon, a huge, black, unknown creature appeared in front of Ye Qianli. Bursting out of the ancient battlefield, its build was so majestic that the magic box broke out in cold sweat. That wasn't all. What caused the magic box to tremble was the thing behind this huge creature. There was a circle of a black vortex. As soon as this vortex appeared, the magic box did not say anything and brought Ye Qianli out of the ancient battlefield. While Ye Qianli, who was in a meditative state, also seemed to have sensed something. Her long eyelashes trembled a few times, showing signs of awakening. This was because the aura of that giant creature was extremely terrifying. Even though she had already returned to the Clearwind Palace, that sort of terrifying intuition still lingered in her heart. Thus, she instinctively wanted to wake up. It's all right now. Hurry up and grasp the understanding of it. Don't break the thought process. The magic box sensed her situation and immediately sent a message into her mind. Ye Qianli's breath paused for a moment. Her originally tense state, which was about to startle awake, slowly calmed down under the magic box's stare. Unfortunately, because they'd left the ancient battlefield, the strange fiery flames that originally coiled around Ye Qianli had completely vanished. I hope that this fool has already understood the key point, so that even without the divine memory's help again, she would still be able to awaken the strongest and most suitable first talent. As the magic box sighed to itself secretly, it discovered that someone was also awakening their innate divine powers nearby. It carefully sensed the surroundings and naturally saw and heard everything that was happening in the main hall of the Southern Palace at this moment. You gave the innate talent pill that father sent to Lear, to Huar for her to eat? After Ye Fengtian, who had returned after toiling away for long hours, walked into the hall, he looked at Su Qin in disbelief, as well as at Su Lianhua, who was in a mysterious state. Why don't you tell me? How can that trash Lear still have any innate talent pill now? If I don't give it to Huar to eat, are we supposed to let it go to waste for nothing? Su Qin hurriedly pulled Ye Fengtian to the side room and retorted, afraid that he would disturb Su Lianhua. What do you mean by go to waste? Does my Ye family have no one left? You? Ye Fengtian was furious. This innate talent pill was the Ye family's most precious treasure. According to his father's letter, there was no second pill. Don't tell me you still want to give it to those people from the side branches of your Yi clan? They are all incapable bloodsuckers. What can they do? On the contrary, if you give it to Huayr, she will awaken her innate divine power and will definitely be able to marry into the Crown Prince's residence. In this way, our Ye clan and the Crown Prince's residence will still be in-laws. Wouldn't that be better? Su Qin retorted with conviction. Pa! However, Su Qin's words were met with a slap from Ye Fengtian. The latter was simply unable to restrain his fury. Ignorant fool. Does that mean that we can't have another child? Even if we really can't, isn't a child from the side branch of the Yi clan closer than an outsider? You're simply... You hit me! Ye Fengtian, you actually dared to hit me. I'm not done with you. If you are so capable, then beat me to death. Boo-hoo. Su Qin, who was hit by Ye Fengtian for the first time since she married into the Ye family, immediately started to cry like a lunatic. Ye Fengtian only felt his temples throbbing, for the sake of the impossibility of the Crown Prince's engagement with his daughter. Ye Qianli, he had been so busy up until now. Yet he was faced with such a bolt from the blue. Fengtian, look at Huayr. She has already awakened her innate divine ability. You should know that if she didn't truly possess true innate talent, she wouldn't have been able to reach this step. Right now, the court still doesn't know what happened in the temporary imperial residence. When they find out, we won't know how they will look at us. But if Huayr gets engaged to the Crown Prince, do you think that they will still dare to say anything? Su Qin, who had been crying, saw that Ye Fengtian's expression wasn't right and had no choice but to change to a gentle tone. Do you think that crown prince is easy to get along with? Do you think he will listen to you? Ye Fengtian snorted coldly and asked harshly. Although he was still very angry, he knew that, since things had already come to this stage, there was no point in saying anything more. Why not? With the power of the Ye family and the Su family, we will definitely be able to succeed. Su Qian immediately encouraged Ye Fengtian with unheeded advice when she realized that there was a chance to turn things around. When the magic box heard up to this point, it had already cleverly figured out. She, this foolish master of it, was the leer in that couple's mouths, the trash that those servants outside were secretly discussing. It could only say this: are these people blind? They must be. Otherwise, how could a genius, whom even the strongest of the gods admired, be considered trash? Chi, chi, chi. At the same time, as if to prove that the people outside were really very blind, strands of flames slowly emerged from Ye Qianli's body, and the aura of these flames caused the magic box to vibrate. Chapter 12. This is the Nine Heavens mystical fire. The magic box was so shocked that the entire box was trembling slightly. It had never imagined that the first talent that Ye Qianli awakened would be the Nine Heavens mystical fire, one of the 10 great sources of fire. The magic box was a little dumbstruck. No, it was extremely dumbstruck. Sizzle, sizzle. However, Ye Qianli, who had caused the magic box to become stupefied, had completely no idea how awesome she was at this moment. Her first talent had earned her the favor of the Nine Heavens mystical fire. It should be known that although talent cultivators were all very strong, there would still be different levels of combat power among them due to different awakened talents. The talents of the talent cultivators were divided into 9 levels and ranked from the 1st to the 9th level. Among them, the lower 3 levels were ordinary talent cultivators, whose awakened talents were generally auxiliary types. Their attack power was weaker, but they were still much stronger than mystic cultivators. The 3 mid-tier talents had very strong attack power. They were ferocious beasts. Some had powerful weapon-type talents. These talents were very powerful, and their combat power was very strong. On the other hand, those at the 3 upper tiers possessed an attack power that reached the level of someone from a Hall of Fame, and they were practically immeasurable existences. This sort of innate divine ability was generally compatible with the world's ultimate source of power, which began with the primordial mythological beasts. They were capable of summoning the power of a god. Hence, they possessed boundless potential and abnormal combat strength. Moreover, the Nine Heavens mystical fire was undoubtedly among the 3 upper tiers. It was ranked 7th. Her first talent is at the 3 upper tiers. No wonder the divine memory is so satisfied with her. I'm afraid that even the owner of that divine memory fragment did not reach this level with his first talent, the magic box murmured in its heart. This was because a talent cultivator's talents would become better and better through cultivation. When a talent cultivator's awakened talent had fused to its pinnacle, they could also awaken a second talent, and so on. In the cultivation world, there were very few people like Ye Qianli who could awaken a 7th stage innate divine ability with her first talent. This also meant that, in the future, her 2nd and 3rd awakened innate talents would all be at least at the 7th stage, or even higher. However, with such a powerful innate talent aura, I have to help her conceal it. Otherwise, wouldn't it be a tragedy for her to be killed by a potential enemy since she's so weak right now? With this thought in mind, the magic box hurriedly released its aura concealment and hid Ye Qianli. As for the strange heavenly phenomenon caused by her, it was not as easy to deal with. This was because this phenomenon was caused by the awakening power that the Nine Heavens mystical fire was transferring to Ye Qianli from the void. It could not be blocked. Sizzle, sizzle. While the magic box was thinking it over, more and more flames were gathering around Ye Qianli's body. Slowly they gathered above her head, forming a cluster of resplendent flames with a cool aura that exuded a supreme elegance. At the same time, in the main hall of the southern palace, a faint outline of a white rabbit hovered around Su Lianhua, while a gentle and warm spiritual aura slowly spread out. It's the third-level jade rabbit talent, which is good at speed. Fengtian, look at Huaer. She's awakened the third-level talent. It really isn't bad, Su Qin said excitedly as she held onto Ye Fengtian's arm. It is not bad indeed. This kind of talent uses surprise attacks and has miraculous effects on investigation skills. Ye Fengtian nodded in agreement. Back then, the first talent that second brother awakened was also at the third level. I remember that second uncle's second talent was the mystic ice beast of the fifth level. Huaer will definitely not be any weaker than second uncle in the future. Such talent is more than enough to marry into the crown prince's residence. Su Qin's eyes were shining. She felt that this niece of hers was extremely capable. Lear's talent is better than Huaer. That's enough. Lear is not bad at martial arts cultivation, but who knows about her true innate talent? Furthermore, she's just a useless person right now. Also, her temper is so rebellious. Even if she's really very talented, what benefits do you think she will bring to my Ye family? Su Qin curled her lips and spat. Ye Fengtian stopped talking. It was obvious that he agreed with what Su Qin said. However, Su Lianhua was only his niece after all. He could not help but feel a little repulsed that she ate his Ye clan's treasure. Buzz! At this moment, the white glow around Su Lianhua suddenly became stronger. Then she slowly opened her eyes. Huaer! When Su Qin saw that her niece had woken up, her expression became increasingly agitated, especially when she clearly sensed that her niece was completely different. Those eyes were so lively, and the aura around her was so strong. Especially when she slowly stood up, Su Qin sensed it even more clearly. Woo! At the same time, in the night-domed sky where the stars were resplendent, a snow-white furred jade rabbit that emitted a gentle and warm aura was howling at the moon. Someone has successfully awakened Jade Rabbit talent. It's Jade Rabbit talent. Third-level talent. The location is the Sky Harmony Palace. The person who resides in this temporary imperial palace has recently returned from the Northern Territory, and it is the Ye family. Could it be that Ye clan's daughter, the one with the physique of a goddess, has awakened her first innate divine ability? At this moment, when the Jade Rabbit howled at the moon, almost all the people in the Vermilion Bird dynasty were affected, especially in the capital city of the dynasty, Vermilion Bird City. It was in an uproar. Even if it was late at night, it couldn't stop people's enthusiasm towards this Jade Rabbit phenomenon because there were too few talent cultivators. Every single talent cultivator was a legend to the dynasty. The Ye clan's daughter's innate talent is considered not bad, but compared to my royal son's talent, it's... At the same time, even someone in the sacred palace of the dynasty spoke. Your Majesty, something is wrong. Look, next to that Jade Rabbit, why is there a flame forming? Looks like it. What is that? The man who had discovered the spark of flame was about to express his opinion when he saw that the faintly discernible flame suddenly expanded. Boom! As soon as the fire ignited, it started to spread rapidly with the power of prairie fires, dominating the entire sky. Wherever it passed, the stars dimmed and the moon waned. As for the Jade Rabbit that was howling at the moon, the moment the flame expanded, it clearly trembled and wanted to escape. However, that grand fire did not give it any chance to escape at all. It swallowed the rabbit on the spot and set it on fire. Therefore, almost the entire Vermilion Bird dynasty could hear Jade Rabbit's wailing. Hiss, hiss. Furthermore, within the Sky Harmony Palace, as well as the people within the Vermilion Bird City who weren't too far away from the Sky Harmony Palace, all of them could smell the stench of burning flesh. For a moment, everyone watching this phenomenon was dumbfounded. Oh! What was even worse was that, in just 2 or 3 breaths of time, that jade rabbit was directly burned into bald black coal. Not only was it extremely unsightly, but it even looked like it was on the verge of death. Hua quickly retract your innate talent power. Seeing that Su Lianhua was already so stunned by this sudden change that all of her orifices were bleeding from this uninvited disaster, Ye Fengtian shouted decisively. Unfortunately,